Hello and welcome, ladies and gents, back to the channel. So a little bit of a different video today to what I usually do. I want to do an event preview for ESL Challenger Katowice. Now, of course, one of the key reasons being I'm working the event. I shall be casting it alongside Scriv, and Bodoff and Hawker are the other pair of casters as well. So it's going to be a good event. I wanted to run through basically some of the storylines, some of the matchups, some of the key points about the event and what makes it kind of exciting. So without further ado, we can get in towards, of course, all of the information. Of course, at the time of this video being released as well, the event starts tomorrow morning. So this will be released probably about 6 p.m. if I'm right in saying, if I get things planned out correctly. 10 a.m. tomorrow, that's UK time, so I think it's 11 European time. The event starts. You don't want to miss it. Actually, there's going to be some pretty cool storylines to talk about. So let's get straight into it. We'll touch on everything overall. So, kickstart the event. Nice and simple. It's a $100,000 prize pool. It's being played out of Katowice, Poland. Originally, this was ESL Challenger Hanover. It was meant to be done at the DreamHack Hanover event, but I'm not too sure exactly what happened. But if I'm right in saying DreamHack cancelled the Hanover event, then therefore, of course, this got moved to Kato. So it got announced at the start of the year being Hanover. Now it's Kato. So if those who have maybe don't understand, why it was taking another Kato, this is exactly why. It got changed somewhat last minute. We got some pretty big teams in attendance as well. And just for format-wise, 8 teams, 2 groups, double elim bracket. Simple as that. And a best of 3 elimination games, best of 1s to kickstart as well, which we'll get on in a little bit. These are teams attending. Got 4 teams that are invited directly just due to ESL rankings. That's Ents4s, Virtus Pro, and Pain. And then 4 teams who made it through their respective qualifiers. 9Z through South America, Ecstatic through Europe. Again, Ecstatic continue to prove people wrong. And we'll touch on those guys in just a moment. Party Astronauts, previously known as EG White, made it to the North American closed qualifier. And Bravado had a South African, may I say, closed qualifier. So, cool as a South African myself to see some South Africans in attendance. It should be good. I know also Tech Girls work in the event, another South African. So we've got a decent little group of us. But this is how things run out. First place, $50,000. And of course, the most important thing is that ESL Pro League spot. And just take a look at the spots that we've already got guaranteed through. And you take a look, scroll down. Here we go. So ESL Challenger Melbourne, the one I did a few weeks ago now. Movistar Riders ended up winning that. So you get that booked in spot. And Movistar, even to that challenger, may I say, they were a last minute invite. They actually weren't even meant to come to the event. Last minute invite coming through, and they ended up getting the Pro League spot. So these Pro League spots, they're very important. You can see as well, like, what else is going to be coming to ESL Challenger Kato here. We got ANZ Champs, which I think actually are just about to start, if I'm right in saying. And then we've got the National Championships qualifiers, which are starting July 13th. Again, don't know what missed those. So either way, back in towards the event itself. We'll kickstart with the group. So Group A is Ents, Bravado, Virtus Pro, and Party Astronauts. Group A, it's stacked, but technically speaking, 4 is the second highest seed because VP haven't seen them play for a while. They've started to slowly tumble down the rankings. And granted, last time we did see them play back at the RMR, wasn't too pretty. We'll touch on them specifically in just a moment. Over towards Group B. Pain, 9Z, Ecstatic, and 4s. That's actually a much more kind of... I honestly, that one can go either way. I think that one's pretty tough to call. And again, we'll come to those in a minute. But let's start with the teams individually. We'll start over towards Bravado, of course, the South Africans. This is a very interesting team to talk about. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that. Not a lot of people will know about these guys that much. But there's pretty good talent here. I think, it's pretty safe to say, of course, them being one of the most notable names within the South African CS scene, which, doesn't say a lot, but it should be pretty exciting. The thing that really excites me as well is Frog, the coach. Frog's pretty well known, Twitter personality. He's very up to date with kind of current matters, what's happening, what. And for me, actually, I used to use him for information. You look on his Twitter and he's have loads of information going. So he's someone that is very much in the know. So you look at these stats as well about what they've been like in the roster. You have to take these with a grain of salt because a lot of these are domestic matchups. So you look at some of the games they've been playing. We scroll through a few of them now. You can see very domestic teams. Knicks are actually not a bad team, but from my understanding, this Knicks team has started to slowly disband here and there. I know actually Sonic, if I'm right in saying, was playing with them for a little bit. But yeah, this Bravado team is not too bad. The last time we saw them play against international competition on a somewhat grandiose scale was the RMR. They didn't do that great at the RMR. They ended up losing to, I think they called Divine Intervention, if I'm right in saying. I remember watching parts of it. And that for me is slightly telling in terms of where they stand in the grand scale of things. They're, currently ranked 130th in the world. It's not exactly the easiest position to be in. But Frog for me is very up to date. He's someone that I think can put a lot of trust in. So I have slight faith that something's going to come forward of this. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Slow Eye has been someone in this team for a long time who has been known within the South African scene. I think he's a bit of a notable name and someone who follows here and there of the South African scene is good. I took a look through some of their demos as well. A lot of the metas and strats they're playing are pretty standard, which is good to see. Sometimes when teams come in with very wild strats overall, it can be pretty concerning just because things can look very rough on the surface. So for me, I think there's definitely a chance. It's unfortunate how tough their group is, but of course the other team in their group is a Party Astronauts. This one again, definitely going to be on the tougher side for PA, just because considering the teams they've got to come against. We're looking at ENCE, we're looking at Virtus Pro, and let's not beat around the bush here. It's very, very difficult to make someone work. You've also got Viz, who is someone who I know a lot of the domestic guys talked about a lot. A lot of the NA boys have been a lot of high praise about. Ben Lee as well. I mean, for a long time, a lot of people talking about him potentially getting moves up from PA, even in towards EG Black or further. At least getting given a shot. And same for Podalone as well. So Ben Lee and Podalone are two guys that I know a lot of the domestic NA guys are talking about as someone who can make a step up into whether that be EG Black if they're considered the second roster, or even getting a crack at the top team before they start making changes of bringing in the likes of Refresh and Nealon. And whatnot. But yeah, this team for me, again, you look at some of their recent matchups, they're an okay team. I think when it comes towards the grand scheme of their groups, they're really going to struggle. I'll take a look actually at their qualifier run, because even making through the NA qualifier, I think is relatively respectable, just because, that's the thing. Nouns were a part of it. And I caught the Nouns Detonate game. I didn't actually catch the Nouns PA game, but I caught the Nouns Detonate game. I took a look through this final though, and again, the fact that we kind of saw PA come through that lower bracket, I think is relatively respectable. They're a team who it looked like they weren't even going to make it, and I think when people looked at the qualifier overall, Nouns and ATK are going for a little bit of a weird period right now where they don't actually even have a full 5, if I'm right in saying. They've been going through a myriad of changes, but still, ranking wise, they're pretty high. They've played some pretty good CS. So yeah, I'm right in saying I think ATK recently benched Bowden, if I'm right in saying. Oh no, he was playing here, but I think I'm right in saying they benched Bowdenmaster recently. So already there's, that ATK roster's been going through changes. Maybe they're on the period of, Bowden's last few games or whatever. Nouns, though, I expected to make it through. The fact that they didn't actually was a bit of a surprise to me. We obviously saw Nouns recently at Dallas, and despite them not making that far, they actually played some pretty good CS at times, that being said. So for PA to make it, really good to see. I'm excited to see what these guys are like, but granted, like we've already mentioned, their group is super difficult, which is going to be a big thing for me going forward. Just the fact that when you look at the people they're coming against, it's going to be tough. We'll jump on over to Group B. We've got 2 teams here from Group B who made it for their close qualifiers. Ecstatic making it through, man. These guys, look at the run they made for their qualifier. I was in Paris for this, but I kept looking at HTV, the teams that were making it through and that were playing, and we'll look at where's the old bracket. Do they have a bracket? I guess no bracket. We'll just take a look at results. But Ecstatic were taking down some pretty big sides. The first one that was really notable for me was them beating Movistar Riders. Just qualified the Pro League by winning in Melbourne. They won at Melbourne over Bad News Eagles. So it wasn't exactly it wasn't a gimmicky win by any means from Movistar. But Ecstatic continues to prove people wrong. Hotu, granted, that's an expected win, but Hotu actually been causing a few upsets. They beat Big 2-0. I'm right in saying they beat Nip as well, I think. Maybe earlier in the stage. But Hotu were kicking around. Oh no, they lost to Nip. Never mind. Ignore me. But Hotu were putting up good performances. I know in the qualifiers as well, the open quals, they beat Endpoint and Sprout as well. So Hotu beat 2 fairly decent Tier 2 teams. So they're a side actually playing some pretty good Counter-Strike, all things considered. So for me, again, relatively somewhat scary. But Ecstatic, man. These guys are doing a really, really good job, of course. Got to second to last day, beat Godsend, the Swedes. Very good to see. Godsend have now made double changes as of yesterday, which was Rusty and Draken being dropped. So Godsend were on a downward spiral anyway, so I don't think that's anything. I think actually losing this qualifier might have killed Godsend. To be perfectly honest. But then we got towards the finals. Big beat out Godsend in the semis. The lower bracket final, may I say. And then we got to the grand finals, and Ecstatic beat Big 2-0. That for me was a huge upset. But Ecstatic now, this is back-to-back challenges. They made it to Melbourne again through the qualifiers, which they beat Honorous in the grand finals. I actually casted that one. They beat Honorous in the grand finals. And then they got to Melbourne. They made it to playoffs as well. Again, never expected, but sick to see. And yeah, and now they qualified to back-to-back challenges. I mean, these guys are playing some really good CS. For me, when you look towards this roster, when you look towards the Ecstatic roster, Nodios is the big one I want to throw out there. I think he is seriously talented. Manx is IGLing, and of course, it was a new role when Birth from Sky left Ecstatic and then went to Copenhagen Flames. But Manx did a really good job in my eyes. Nodios, I think, is a super solid support player. The big star, pardon me, on this team is Kragan or Crown, however you want to pronounce it. Apparently, it's pronounced Crown, but super talented guy. I think he is the star of this team. He's the entry fragger, the guy who's putting up high numbers. Kragan's super talented, really good individual. We saw him at Challenger Melbourne. He looked super talented. We've seen him in the online kind of tier 2 tournaments. He's looked sick, so he's someone to keep an eye on. But over towards 9Z, we'll kind of try and run through these a little bit quicker now. 9Z, again, this is a team who very good, but they've been having these big inconsistencies. Take a look through the qualifier quickly of how they got here. MIBR was the big team that they had to face. They beat them 2-1 in the finals. They did similar to what we saw from the NA qual with kind of the whole Nouns PA sort of situation. MIBR beat 9Z, drop into the lower bracket, and they beat them in the reverse matchup. It seems to always happen, that kind of thing. But 9Z, again, is a side that basically all of us know relatively well. They're a very decent team. I think the big one for me is looking at the likes of Try and what we're going to see performance-wise out of him. Of course, the recent, or somewhat recent, at the start of this year, transfer with Try coming back from Double O Nation towards 9Z, hoping to get him more confident. We're starting to slowly see it, but I think we need a little bit more out of him. And then Max and DGT as well. I mean, they've been such prolific kind of people in this team for a while. We need to see them really come out of line on LAN. And they're a team who, maybe on LAN, we might see a little bit out of them. But of course, they are coming from South America to Kato. We have to always talk about it. But, maybe jet lag or things of the sort could play in. Of course, they're South American comrades, who actually will be the opening matchup for Group B is going to be Pain. This team is just sick. I've always loved Pain. Ever since ESL Challenger Melbourne way back when, I've had a deep love for Pain. So this is a sick team in my eyes. Skulls and Zevi are two of the most talented people in the world. Zevi as an AWPer is unbelievable. Skulls an entry rifler is insane. The recent changes they made as well by dropping PKL, and then they've kind of made these recent adjustments in terms of how the teams run, with Neckers coming through and Big Azera doing a little bit more of the he went from being a hard entry to now a little bit more strat calling as well. I'm loving this Pain side. They've been playing good. I was really sad not to see them make deep running towards the major, because they did really well in their domestic RMR. They came basically second overall, losing to Furia in that seeding matchup for who gets the legend spot. So they nearly got a legend spot. But unfortunately, challenges just wasn't good from Pain. I don't know what happened. They sort of just fell apart. You hate to see it. VP coming in. The weird thing about VP is we right now don't know what the team is going to be looking like. We're assuming this is the team that's coming through, but we actually don't know. They haven't announced anything yet, which is a very interesting thing to talk about. Last time we saw Virtus Pro was the RMR. They bombed out. It was brutal. But the big thing, of course, being is they've kicked Chiron and brought Norbit back in towards the roster. So this is the roster that won the Rio Major back at the late stages of 2022. But we obviously saw in that one game that Norbit played in the RMR, they didn't do that well. They lost, and now we don't see... we haven't seen anything from them since. They've dropped out of basically every other tournament. I actually thought they'd drop out of this tournament as well. I thought they'd go into the player break and just be like, right, we're sacking everything off. But they're back. They're playing. So we'll see what happens with them. Moving on towards Fours as well. Really sick team, Fours. I think they're really talented. I got to say, Jerry continues to rebuild teams time and time again and make them good. I do still have my reservations about Result as a rifler. I think he's inconsistent, and that for me is problematic, because they could have also had Forrester in this team. They were trialing the latter stages of ESL Challenger League Season 44 in the playoffs. They were trialing both Forrester and Result, and pardon me, they went for Result. So Is that the right decision? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see and find out. But either way, final team, of course, and winners of IEM Dallas. These guys are coming in with a lot to prove, and actually probably a lot of pressure on their shoulders as well, just because of the way things are. They're just going to like a winning IEM Dallas over Miles, 2-0 in that final, comfortable for them. But they're playing some of the best CS we've seen from them. Snappy is now really starting to certify himself as being one of the best IGLs in the world right now. Nerds, since coming in towards this team, granted, RMR started badly. They go 0-2, then they go 3-2, make all the way through. After that, not as good, but they bounce back really well. And ENT, I think this is a team who really looking to stick. Some Pius finally starting to become a win factor once again, playing some of the best CS of his life. I think one of the most important factors to this ENT team is Diha. Unbelievably smart player. I think he's so cerebral, so crucial to ENT's success. And I think he's quite a lot of the time underpraised. In fact, I do at times get worried about Madden because I think he can really just go missing at times. But recently, that's not been the case. You saw at Dallas, Madden was playing good CS, consistent CS as well. So I'm feeling positive. The big thing I always just talk about events was that I really didn't rate Madden that much, just because I think on his good days, he's unbelievable. But on his off days, he really goes missing to a point where it's very difficult. But he's been consistent recently. He's been playing good CS. So it's good to see. It's good to see. Anyway, let's get into the matchups to kickstart things. Of course, we're recording this 2 days prior to the event starting. So this starts on Friday at 10 a.m. UK time, 11 a.m. European. ENT versus Bravado first matchup. That is going to be brutal. Absolutely brutal for Bravado. I can't see a world in which they get more than 10 rounds. I'd love to be proven wrong, but just being consistently, I really don't see a world in which they get more than 10 rounds. I don't know why I had headphones on. I'm not listening to anything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see a world where they get more than 10 rounds. ENT should just absolutely batter them coming through. VP, it should be the same story, right? Just in terms of what we know the team can play at. We haven't seen VP play since the RMRs. They have dropped out every tournament. I've not seen anything from them. So very interesting kind of thought process there. I think VP should still take that relatively comfortably, and then we'll have an ENT's VP upper bracket best of one to see who basically qualifies straight to the playoffs, basically, essentially. And then, of course, loser drops into the lower bracket. So that'd be Bravado, PA in that lower bracket, and I think realistically PA should take it. They're not even realistically, they should take it comfortably. PA are the better team. I think Bravado right now, they are absolutely the massive underdogs. If they can do anything here, I'd be very surprised, just because they just don't play a lot of international Counter-Strike, and I think that's super important. They're playing primarily domestic Counter-Strike, and then even then, it's not always successful domestic Counter-Strike. So that, for me, worries me ever so slightly. I mean, we'll see. We'll see, right? I'd love for Bravado to come prove something here. Frog's the big guy I'm looking at to see whether he can make it happen. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. So, yeah, then VP ends, pardon me, in the upper bracket. I think ENT should take it, but I think VP should be the second team to qualify through Group A, because then it'll be VP versus PA again. Oh, pardon me. In a best of three, they should take it relatively comfortably. Right, over towards Group B. Ecstatic Fours. This is an interesting matchup because literally last week, they played each other in the CCT online finals. This isn't the grand final. I was actually as the host for this event. I was working on the desk. So I watched this entire game. And Fours picked them apart. The big important one as well is that Fours picked them apart on Nuke. Fours are a little bit of an inconsistent Nuke team. Ecstatic is meant to be one of their best maps. And they got decimated. It was really rough to see. And you look across the board as well. Some real key people were missing. Very key person, in fact, going missing is Nodios. He's very important to Ecstatic doing well. And he never showed up in the finals. So he had a really rough day. So did Kragan as well. We look over towards Fours. Shalfie, lights out Counter-Strike. Like I said, Result, I'm still a little bit worried about him, but we'll see. I think I'm going to play, just on the back of history alone. Fours should take that opening matchup in my eyes, just because they've already done it. When it goes towards a best of one, I don't know where they'd want to go in terms of veto. Nuke could definitely get banned out. Actually, maybe not, because Fours beat them on it. So maybe they're happy to go either way, but we'll see. I think Fours will take it either way. Then in towards the other game, Pain, I'm vouching for them to beat 9Z. into a lower bracket, I then think 9Z will be ecstatic. And that's a rogue one, I have to say, because Ecstatic been playing good CS recently, but I think the Battle of the Orpas is really important there, and I think Try is significantly better than Salazar, and I think he can really shut down Salazar. Of course, those elimination games are best of threes as well, so it's not actually just the best of ones. Then we look into kind of the depth of a veto. But if we look towards playoffs, the expectations is ENCE, in my eyes, ENCE, VP, Pain, and Fours to make it through. So Pain and Fours from Group B to make it through, which actually is just the top 4 highest rated people. But unfortunately, I just don't see a world in which if 9Z are then going to play the likes of whether it's a Pain or a Fours in a lower bracket, kind of elimination best of 3, I would still always vouch for Pain or Fours to take those. Then we go towards playoffs. The winner of Group A, which in my eyes should be ENCE, take on second place of Group B, which will probably be, just looking at matchups now, so if Pain beat 9Z, then it'd be Pain Fours. I think Pain beat Fours, actually. So I'm going to say Pain get number 1 seed, Fours get second. So ENCE versus Fours, I think ENCE take it. Pain versus VP, it kind of feels pretty impossible to call just because we don't know what VP are playing like at the moment. Just off the back of maybe recent reps under the belt, you can maybe make the argument of Pain. VP are the better team in terms of individuals, but we haven't seen them play in so long. It's been like, what, a month and a half, 2 months now since they played, so who knows. But overall, I think the champion should be ENCE. I do have a few scenarios, actually, which I wanted to talk about if ENCE are the champion. So, of course, as we've already mentioned, winning team takes 50 grand at an EPL Season 18 spot. I've written down some scenarios here. So, only one team in Kato already has an EPL spot, which is ENCE. They've already guaranteed themselves that Pro League spot. So if ENCE wins Kato, the slot goes to second place. And of course, if ENCE don't win, then the slot goes to whoever else. Everybody else is vying for a Pro League spot, apart from ENCE, who've already got one. So if ENCE win, which probably should happen, it'll go to second place. And then in my eyes, second place kind of feels like it'll be either VP or Pain. So there's a world in which we could actually see VP or Pain make Pro League. Or, I mean, maybe even Fours, if Fours play really well. But I think Fours, for me, feel very inconsistent. We'll have to see. I really don't know what VP are going to be playing like, because we haven't seen them play in 2 months. They could have fixed all the issues now with Norbert back in the team. Who knows? Who knows? But I think it's important to mention that, of course, with ENCE already having an EPL spot, the other 7 teams, any of these 7 teams could be going towards EPL just by making the grand final alone. That, for me, super important talking point. But overall, that is ESL Challenger Kato in a nutshell. I think ENCE should take it. You'd be an idiot not, to go anywhere else. They've just won Dallas. They've been playing some good Counter-Strike. I can't see a world in which they lose this just because they're playing good Counter-Strike. But without further ado, that'll conclude things. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. That's been a rough summary of what a few of the storylines are going to be looking like over towards Challenger Kato. At the time of watching this, make sure get your alarms ready. 10 a.m. UK time, 11 a.m. European time. Get in there. Challenger Kato will be live. Be some good Counter-Strike. Some good teams as well playing. We got what? 5 top 30 teams? Maybe is it 5? Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 top 30 teams. I'm lying. Ecstatic ranked 30th in the world. 6 top 30 teams out of 8. Worth watching. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be good. But anyway, thank you very much for joining. If you're new around here, subscribe, like, all of the good stuff. And until next time,